I would like to... God damn it. No, that just sounds dumb. Fuck, I can't do this.
Yes, you can.
Okay. I would like to welcome everyone to the very first episode of Rainbows to the Rescue, which is a new podcast. I'm Mary.
And I'm Batwoman NYC, but you can call me Bats.
And we are coming to you with this new idea that we've been kicking around for a while. And I want to, first of all, give a huge thanks to Shoot the Breeze Comics and Shoot the Breeze Media, who is really pushing for this and has taken our idea and is ready to put it out there. So a huge thanks to them.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
As for our introduction song, that is Still Okay by the band OLC. They are fantastic. You can find them on iTunes and Spotify. You should really check them out. They're a fantastic indie band, and they do some amazing stuff.
Support your local bands. It is super important for them getting out there and for them doing their thing, just like it's super important to support all your artists.
Exactly. So supporting indie bands and music and comics is going to be a recurring theme with us. So I wanted to start with a little bit of breakdown of the podcast, what you can expect from us besides, two broke lesbians talking about comic books that we read in our free time.
So broke.
So broke. This is an LGBT-run podcast. As I just said, myself and Bats, we are both gigantic lesbians, unless she's hiding something from me.
I'm actually hiding the fact that I am 5 foot, so I'm not really gigantic, but I am a lesbian.
Metaphorically gigantic.
I appreciate that. That makes me feel good.
So like I said, we're LGBT run. This is a comic podcast and also what I like to call comic adjacent. So we're going to be talking about movies and live action TV adaptations and animated movies and just everything in the big wide world of comic books. We're going to be talking about that. We like to primarily keep our focus on LGBTQ comics, creators, characters. We want to talk about a little bit of everything in kind of the Queerosphere, as I like to call it.
Everything should be in the Queerosphere. That's my new favorite phrase now. Thank you for that.
Queerosphere.
I live in the Queerosphere. Forget the atmosphere.
It's like the Upside Down, but for gay people.
It's just very colorful down there.
Exactly. It is a colorful version of the Upside Down.
A little bit of glitter here and there.
So if you know, I say so a lot, but if you know anything about me and Bats, or, it is me and Bats, grammatically speaking, we are both gigantic Batwoman fans. I am kind of a fedora-tipping Batwoman fan who has been a fan since 2006, so I like to refer to myself as the grumpy old Batwoman fan.
I'm not a Batwoman fan. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, not at all. You just dress up as Batgirl.
Yeah, Batgirl. That's it. Or Batman Beyond. I get that a lot too.
Oh, yeah. But Bats is a huge Batwoman cosplayer who does, great stuff. I love the props. I love the pictures. I actually have a business card somewhere around here.
Shout out. I'd like to make a shout out to the Quiver cosplay. You guys may know him as Dick, but he's the one that makes me look like Batwoman. I just wear everything. So you should definitely follow him at the Quiver cosplay.
Oh, yeah. No, I just see the pictures of all the props, and they look amazing.
It's basically him and I getting drunk in a basement and him making stuff and me commenting on this shit that he makes. It is great.
That sounds kind of dangerous.
It has been. Believe me, it has been. There's a lot of burns that happen and a lot of cuts, mostly on his end. And I screw with him. Like when we were making our boots, he's cutting off the boot layer that he's going to craft it over. And I just start screaming just for fun, just to fuck with him. He's never forgiven me.
You're just a big old ball of sunshine, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I'm very fun. You should totally be my friend. You'll never regret it. That was convincing, right?
So for, jumping back to the fact that we are gigantic Batwoman fans, for this first episode, we've decided to talk about Batwoman, especially in light of all of the really big Batwoman news we have gotten lately. Nothing you want to add there?
Nothing besides yay. I'm
Nothing
very excited. It's actually scary. So I get nervous. I think a lot of Batwoman fans do. with good reason. We've had a history.
Yeah.
So every little bit of newness and new takes on Kate, be it in comics or elsewhere, it makes us nervous, and that's okay. I'm cautiously optimistic, though. I'm excited for this.
I think that's a good way to describe it, as cautiously optimistic. Because the CW has been a little problematic with a lot of people, but we'll get back to a little bit in that later.
Yeah.
The first thing that I really wanted to touch on was kind of the origin of Batwoman. And the first official disclaimer that Kathy is not Kate, and Kate is not Kathy.
Thank you. Nobody at my job seems to understand that. Not so much my coworkers, but customers. I'm like, no. There's a huge difference, and it's a loaded history.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, the original Batwoman, Kathy Kane, was introduced in the Golden Age of comics as a way to offset the rumors of homosexuality between Batman and Robin as brought to light by the book Seduction of the Innocent. If you can find a copy, read it, because it is ridiculous. Batman.
Even the title is ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
it sounds like there's more things to worry about than the homosexual overtures.
Oh yeah,
possibly there.
Because I don't even like to say the guy's name. I mean, outside of Seduction of the Innocent, he did some fantastic work, but with that particular book, he wrote that Batman and Robin are gay, Superman is a fascist, and Wonder Woman, with her independence and her strength, was turning vulnerable young ladies into lesbians. So, I am gay because of Wonder Woman. I
was just about to say the last point might not be too far-fetched. I mean, I feel very gay for Wonder Woman.
Okay.
I think she has influence.
So he got one out of
not
3.
In that context. Yeah. Like they're demonizing it, and that's not how I feel about that.
But Kathy Kane was a completely different character. I believe she was the aunt by marriage to Bruce Wayne, which, correct me or not, that just seems a little awkward to me. But
a little awkward? A lot awkward. A lot awkward.
Eventually she was scrapped in favor of the Batman Catwoman romance that it is a thing that's been happening lately, and I really don't want to get into Batman number 50, other than the fact of what the hell was that?
I'm not even shocked. But again, we won't get into it. Like it's exactly what I expected.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I spent $5 for what I could have predicted, and that's okay.
I mean, the tribute the tribute artwork was amazing.
That alone made it worth it.
Absolutely.
I love the amount of iconic artists that have drawn them over the years that they actually got in there.
Oh yeah.
That was a stunning way to lay it out and have really important people in the history of Bruce and Selina doing the artwork for it without it looking disjointed.
Yeah. But I mean, I knew they weren't going to go through with it, and it pissed me off. But
I mean, we got a whole other 50 issues, maybe.
Woohoo!
We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
I
think I know what's going to happen.
Right. But I think my lucky star is that we have a Jolie Jones Catwoman book, and that is just the comic heavens parting. Lesbian comic Jesus is coming down.
She's had enough, and she's here to help us.
Exactly. And with Jolie Jones, if you have not read her series Lady Killer from Dark Horse, read it.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
It is a 60s housewife who doubles as an assassin, and the writing is amazing. The artwork, oh my god.
It's stunning. Every copy of that book, every cover, it was gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Absolutely gorgeous.
So I think we're kind of both in love with Jolie Jones, but
a little bit. Don't tell her. Don't tell her, please.
Don't tell her. She'll never hear this. But
never say never. Oh god, I'm nervous.
But But so Kathy kind of went the way of the dodo bird. She popped up every so often. But in 2006, DC was running their series 52 as a response to Infinite Crisis, where Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman have left. They are not there. And 52 took place over the 52 weeks of the year. It was a weekly series detailing a world without the DC Trinity. And how
it was actually kind of like really a really bold move to do a weekly comic without your three main players.
Exactly.
And it worked so exceptionally well.
I maintain my belief that it is probably the single greatest comic DC has ever published.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. It's nuanced and it's different, but it's still you still get that superhero stuff that you came for. Oh, yeah. Like you don't need the statement that you don't need Batman, Wonder Woman, or Superman to make a really good DC comic that comes out weekly. That's a huge event and affects the scope of the DC universe. Is amazing.
Everything leading into Final Crisis.
It's amazing.
I mean,
it was so well done.
And if you haven't read it, don't misunderstand. Bruce, Clark, and Diana do still appear at very minor points in time.
Yeah, they do. They're just not the focal points or the major players.
I do think one of my favorite scenes is actually the fact that there is a new hero in Metropolis, and Clark is trying to get an interview. So Perry White has just fired Clark. But Clark can hear this new superhero flying around, so what does Clark do? Clark throws himself out of a window in order for this hero to swoop down and catch him, and then he immediately asks for an exclusive.
He Lois Lanes.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, not that. I mean, he uses her mindset in that point where it's like, all right, interview time. You just rescued me, and that's amazing. That's amazing. But yeah, it's a really interesting kind of way to spin the whole DC universe on its own head, and also put some characters that you wouldn't normally see.
Oh my gosh, Animal Man
in the forefront in a good light. What was that? Animal Man. That was oh my god. Animal Man was fantastic, and Black Adam.
The entire Black Adam storyline was just amazing.
I actually felt so attached to Black Adam reading 52.
Exactly.
Like, it shattered my heart without going into detail. Like, it's just, he's always been, since 52, he's always been one of my favorite villains.
Exactly. I mean,
like, I just so attached to 52 Black Adam.
Spoiler alert, you will cry.
You will. I had a box of tissues with me, and they disappeared very quickly.
I think, honestly, for you and I, the most prominent of the storylines would be Renee Montoya. Yes. Who is a perfect goddess, and I will never say anything terrible about her.
She is a goddess who's had a lot to deal with, and she's had a lot to get over, and for that's why she's perfect to me.
Because
she struggled a lot, and she's come out of
absolutely.
It each and every time, and that's my definition of perfect.
And circling back, it is through Renee's storyline that we are introduced to Kate Kane, who is a former lover of Renee Montoya, who Renee has to see for an investigation. And we find out a few issues later that while Batman is gone, there is a new caped hero running around Gotham, who turns out to be billionaire heiress Kate Kane.
Yeah, it's... was it... We see Kate first, right? In 52?
Yes, we see Kate in... Kate Kane is introduced in 52 week 7.
That's right. And then 11 is when she's introduced as Batwoman.
Yes. The ironic thing is that a editorial error led to a panel of her being shown in 52 week 9. So we just see it is one panel of her crouched down full costume, but from what I understand, it was an editorial error.
That's interesting. I think I know which panel too.
Because
Sorry, I'm like doubling back on my books now. I'm like, hang on.
But
I didn't realize that was an actual error. That's fascinating.
If I remember correctly, I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot.
But yeah, 7 and 11 were the two issues that are generally pointed to, I think, for this new resurgence of Batwoman as Kate Kane.
A must-have for any Batwoman comic collector, and fortunately for all of us, they're very affordable.
They are. I actually got week 11, issue 11 of 52, for $1 at my actual local comic book store.
Very nice.
In their basement, like perfect condition. And I have multiple copies because I could just find them for that kind of affordable. Jump on that now before that CW show comes out if you're looking to nab that issue. Just in case.
Yeah, because that might shoot up. Well, I mean, let's hope it'll shoot up.
Yeah, I mean, it probably won't. Like, it's not going to be like Deadpool's introduction,
no, not at all.
Like issue. But you're gonna want to get it for $1 still, or something in that realm. But yeah, no, it's really affordable and it's a great issue. I love that issue.
The most interesting thing about her introduction in 52 is that she actually plays second fiddle to Renee's storyline. She doesn't appear very often in the first part, but in the second part, when Renee's storyline really picks up. And I don't want to give away too much information because so many people are jumping onto that series every day that I don't want to be the asshole who ruins it.
Basically, it's framed as Renee's storyline because she is one of the major players in 52. But toward the second half of 52, we actually start getting some what would become important history for Kate Kane as her own character down the line. Renee's story kind of has ramifications for Kate in her own separate universe, even away from Renee. So it's really it's an important start if you're looking to read Kate stuff. I actually read it much later than I read other Kate Kane storylines. And there's a lot of like, wait, what happened? And I did not realize for a long time where I could find that storyline. So definitely 52 is going to be the jumping on point in some sense that you want to get on.
52 isn't 100% necessary when reading the story, but I definitely recommend that you start at 52 before sailing into Elegy.
It's a huge help. There are certain references in Elegy, and they're not huge references, but they do touch upon 52 a little bit, which makes sense because Rucka was the writer on 52 for Renee's storyline, as well as Elegy. So he does reference the old work, not in huge detail, like I said, but it does help to have that kind of knowledge, so you know a little bit of Kate's motivation.
And how great is Greg Rucka? I mean, you knew we were going to devote a couple minutes to, hero worship here.
I hope he doesn't hear this because I'm very shy, but I love that man. He knows it. He knows it, but I love that man.
He is fantastic.
He is just so passionate and talented at everything he does with every character. And he is one of the biggest champions of Kate.
Oh, absolutely.
And for that, I owe him everything.
I mean, and he is so passionate about everything he does, and he's very sincere.
He is sincere, and he appreciates his fans immensely.
Absolutely. Sidestepping away from Kate completely, read Gotham Central.
Absolutely. I cannot recommend that series enough. It is actually one of the first series I've read, and it's still been in my top 3 favorite books or series of books. Half a Life is going to wreck you. That storyline. Also recommend the tissues here. But it's fantastic. And that'll give you some insight to Renee Montoya if you're also interested in reading a little more about her and her history.
Just to, you know, kind of give you a little taste, Renee is outed in literally the worst fashion possible. And it becomes one of the most heartbreaking and realistic coming out stories that I think I have ever read. And it really hits you so close to home.
It, speaking personally for a second, I had a much easier coming out situation, and getting to that last page of Half a Life kind of it broke my heart, because it made me realize how much I've taken for granted. It's gonna wreck you in the best way. Absolutely. The best way.
In the best way possible, but that is a buckle up, get the tissues, get the chocolate, you know, put on that one, you know, romantic comedy you like to watch after this, because it is going to fuck you up.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's really good. And especially if you like detective work, police procedural, it's very, very it's what happens on Gotham on the not vigilante end, but dealing with the same kind of situations.
We probably should have broached this before, but Gotham Central is about the GCPD and specifically the Major Crimes Unit. And great characters, a lot of tragedy, a death that will hit you very hard.
I sobbed on a bus coming home from a doctor's office in front of very many people.
I think the line that cuts me the deepest is, you know, why couldn't it have been you? You know? Right.
It's gonna happen again. Don't do this.
Okay, so we're stepping into spoiler territory, so we're gonna shut up on that.
And also, I'd like to not dehydrate, so.
And after reading 52, you can go into Elegy. You will probably find that a lot easier in the collection Batwoman by Greg Rucka. It includes Batwoman Elegy, which was collected in Detective Comics, starting at Detective Comics 854. And it goes through the 5 issues of Elegy, plus 3 additional issues that kind of detail a little bit of Kate being Batwoman.
Yeah.
And that steamrolled right into the continuity restart of the New 52 after Flashpoint. So if you're new to Batwoman, if you're new to comics, there was a comic event starring the Flash called Flashpoint, where he goes back in time to try and save his mother. But at some point in time on his return trip, the continuity kind of resets itself and starts over from zero. So anything that had happened before that point is gone, including, weirdly enough, parts of Elegy.
Thank you, Barry. We appreciate that. Not really.
Good job, Barry. Good job.
Why?
But the New 52 does kind of build off Elegy, but there are certain parts that do get retconned. Cough big parts of Renee's storyline in 52.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the New 52, Renee Montoya, who is a huge part of Kate's backstory, completely disappears until, I want to say, Detective Comics 40 or 41, where she is reintroduced in a continuity. The New 52 is a bucket of good and bad.
You have to you have to sift through a lot of bad to find really good, but I promise you it is there.
I am not like a lot of folks, and I do advocate reading the full thing. Because the second half of the run does get very controversial, and we don't really want to touch on that here because there's a lot of really objective pieces, and
sorry.
No, go ahead. It's just there's a lot that happens that isn't. See, I don't really know how to put it. It's a thing that happens.
It's a take on Kate that sets itself apart in not necessarily the best way.
Yes.
And there's a lot going on that led to that a reader, even a very in-depth reader, won't fully grasp, because there's a lot going on behind the scenes, behind the comic pages, that we're just not privy to.
Yeah.
And thus it well, it can feel a little more disjointed, to put it put it very nicely. But there's a lot of blame game that goes on, that we just can't play. We don't know everything that led to that, and we don't know the situations behind it. It just sadly was not the Kate we were looking for. So a lot of people, understandably so, are burned by it.
I think the way I like to describe it is that I'm not going to name names here, because you can very easily find that out. And at the time of the initial controversy of, and that part I think we have to address, is the fact that they wanted Kate to get married, but editorial said no. And now there is a very specific reason for that, and I'm not necessarily a fan of Dan DiDio, but I do believe he needs to be defended here. And, Bats might disagree, but they didn't let Batwoman get married because it was an editorial rule and not because she's gay. There was a line-wide rule in the New 52 that superheroes could not get married, and get this, because they weren't allowed to be happy in their personal lives. I mean, Aquaman and Mera didn't get married. That's why, Black Canary was completely removed from Green Arrow's storyline. Barry and Iris, who, were a huge staple in comics, weren't even together, and he was with Penny, whatever the hell her name was. But, I think they broke up in a fashion at some point. Clark and Lois weren't even together. It was some weird angsty relationship between Clark and Diana, or Superman and Wonder Woman, if you will.
Yes.
But, right. It was not a homophobic decision. It was a dumb decision. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But,
see, that was my concern. As long as we can all agree that it was very, very dumb.
Oh, no. It was a stupid-ass decision, but it was not a homophobic one. And I think what really kind of formed my opinion about that is that, on Twitter, it came up in conversation. And Gail Simone, an absolutely prolific comic writer who was writing probably one of the best Batgirl runs ever at the time, stepped in and basically said, look, this is what happened. And, Gail Simone, who is a massive champion of LGBTQ rights and comic representation, I will take her word for it, kind of a thing.
Absolutely. And that helped inform my emotions as well, in addition to, sadly learning how comics works, which is not always the writer decides to write a story and everything goes exactly as planned. There's a lot of background stuff. And it took me delving into comics to really learn that.
Yeah.
But
I think the ironic thing... I think the ironic thing is that they treated her no differently than her straight counterparts at the one time they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And in a sense, I kind of appreciate that she was held to the same standard, because I don't want special treatment just because she's gay.
I agree. I really... I haven't thought about it that way, but yeah, no. It's kind of... Well, it just feels a little validating if she's held to the same standards.
Right. Because
I like to think of it that way. You're right.
Because, if you look at Aquaman and Mera, in Rebirth, the first thing Jeff Johns did was have them get engaged. And,
that's true, yeah.
And if you kind of look at Kate in that, the pantheon, if you will, of all of these other characters that weren't allowed to have, these marriages or these really in-depth relationships, that she was kind of held to the same standard as the rest of them. So I think that really kind of
that really speaks more to their views on same-sex marriage than
yes.
we all think it does.
Yeah. And
or than we used to think it does in my
yeah.
my situation.
I love how we say we're not going to address the controversy, but then we sit here and address the controversy.
It's impossible. Sadly, it's impossible not to address the controversy.
And
It's a huge part, if not one of the most written about and spoken about parts of her history.
I think it actually is the thing that really launched her into mainstream attention. Because, I mean, there was mainstream news coverage when she was announced in 52, but that was really so long ago that, you know, people who were reading comics, you know, in 2006, 2007, were really the only ones who remember that happening. And then I think the whole, you know, DC doesn't let lesbian character get married made for a much more clickbaity headline.
Yeah. And I think the and I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I think the really heartbreaking part of it was, I think that decision to pull the plug on that marriage also came a little late in the game too.
Yes.
which was really upsetting, especially when, you know, there was already a team hard at work making that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, you know, editorial says start over, or no, at least.
Yeah.
Like,
and as a
sorry.
No, you're fine. As a result of being told no about the marriage, the original creative team, and like I said, I'm not going to name names because that's drama that Mary does not want.
Neither does Pat's.
It's
a lot.
Right. The original creative team ended up walking off the book in protest. And they brought in a new writer who... The sad thing is that if you look at the sales, the book was already floundering at that point. I mean...
He was... What was the line that you've said?
The second...
Because I think it's very appropriate.
Yeah. The second writer was essentially sent into a burning building armed with nothing but lighter fluid and matches. I mean, and I'm not talking plot or that I didn't like the book, but, you know, comic books live and die by their sales numbers. And
yeah, sadly,
at that time, Batwoman was really starting to flounder. You know, because you and I, we've both worked in comic book shops. I worked in kind of like a shipping supply side where you really had to look at the numbers. And it is, looking at her sales numbers, it is actually kind of amazing that she made it to 40 issues.
Yeah. I'm actually very pleased that I'm not on that end of it, because I think I would just be sad all the time, because I'm very passionate about the books I like, and sadly the books that I like don't necessarily sell all that much. And like Mary said, comics live and die by sales. It's just the nature of the business.
And I think it actually, I mean, I'm a giant DC fangirl. If you know anything about me, you know this. So like, I will stand DC for as long as I can, but I also call out their stupid shit.
Yeah. I mean, you have to with any company. You get sucked into a lot of stuff with your favorite material, your favorite reading material, no matter what publisher, if you don't take a moment to really take a look at their stupidity, because every publisher has it.
And now I could sit here and go on and on and on about the inner workings of comics, but I mean, that's a whole... That's a whole other episode on its own, because then you get into like the print versus digital debate and how absolutely terrible Diamond is. So terrible.
Oh.
For those of you who don't know, Diamond has essentially a monopoly on comic distribution to comic shops. So if you've ever been to a comic book store, they get their books from Diamond. And Diamond is notoriously terrible.
Being a monopoly, you're able to get away with being notoriously terrible and still be, you know, depended on.
So I remember a side story here. When I worked in my comic warehouse, instead of getting our box of 250 copies of Amazing Spider-Man, we got a box with a roll of paper towels in it.
Man. But that's common Diamond shit. That's literally, sadly, and I don't like to knock anybody in the business, but that's par for the course, especially in smaller scale comic shops. Sadly, get a lot of that, that brunt. Sadly,
and I think Bats and I can both attest to the fact that comics is so much more than reading your favorite superheroes. Like, it is a giant, when you factor in movies and TV, it is a billion-dollar monster of an industry, and there's so much that happens behind the scenes that you can look at something like, the change in writing staff at Batwoman and be angry about the decision, but also not realize that there is so much happening behind the scenes.
Yeah. And a lot of the times, writers who are passionate about the characters and passionate about what they're doing get the short end of the stick because they're on the front lines. If something doesn't go over well, sadly, it falls on them. And by all of my personal experience, the writer who took on this sadly floundering book is an incredible
he's fantastic.
Writer. He's written a lot of stuff that I actually thoroughly enjoy, and sadly, he was trapped in a shitty situation.
He is an openly gay man who went from this to spearheading, the DC IDW team up Love is Love in response to the Pulse shooting in Orlando.
Which is absolutely a beautiful book, and I would recommend it to anybody. Recommend 2 boxes of tissues for that, but it was fantastic, and I actually it put a lot in perspective for me, because it was around that time where I started really learning that you can't just pinpoint it on one person. Sadly, from what I can guess, he really didn't have as much of a say as he would have liked.
Burning building, lighter fluid.
Burning building, lighter fluid. That is sadly the second half of Batwoman New 52.
Taking another aside, because we have no sense of, narration or organization, I do want to stop for a second and plug, if you can find a copy of Love is Love, buy it. It is a fantastic book. It is a tribute. I think the whole proceeds going to Equality Florida, I think that's kind of wrapped up, but I still think this is an important book. And if you find it at Barnes & Noble, if your local comic shop carries it, buy it. Because not only does that support them, because they're the ones who spent the money to buy the book, and it was that money that got donated to Equality Florida. But
correct. And extra aside, is such a touching tribute that I visited Pulse very, very recently, and they have a wall shrine of pictures of the response and the unity that resulted in the wake of that nightmare. And on the wall is a picture of the Love is Love book.
That tears my heart.
Pretty front and center. It is there. It is that important and that stunning of a tribute. Buy it.
It is a tribute book that was published through IDW, but DC licensed their characters to be used. So there is a lot of DC characters who are either responding to Pulse, because there's one where that tears me up. I think it may have been written by the actor Matthew Bomer. Was Batman walking through Pulse trying to figure out what happened. There is another one with Batwoman standing on top of Pulse watching a peace rally, watching a memorial thing where she's talking to the son of a woman who was killed at Pulse. And it is emotional. I think the one with Deathstroke, in terms of the characters, I think that's one that got me the hardest, ironically.
Yeah, that's the one I hear. I hear a lot about that one. I think that brought one of my friends to tears in a little bit.
And comics aside, there are beautiful tributes to the victims, who absolutely should not and should never be forgotten. On the inside cover of the book, their names are listed. And I encourage you to take the time and read every single one of them.
It's more
Yes.
necessary for the tribute than almost than any of the contributions, but every single contribution
Yes.
that's in there has been stunning. I'd also like to plug the Matt Rosenberg did one that actually brought me to tears, where it was basically
Yes.
a comic about him writing the comic for the tribute, and he did
Yes.
not understand why he, a straight man, was asked to do a tribute. So he's like, so I'll say the only thing that, like, something to the effect of, I'll say the only thing that I feel like I can say. And then the last panel is a drawn out picture of his laptop, and it says panel 8
Yes.
on it, and it says, I love you. I cried
and
so hard.
While we're on the topic of tribute books, also, this has nothing to do with LGBT comics, but if you can find it, pick up a copy of Reconstruction, which is another tribute. I can't keep saying tribute. Another charity book, basically, that is DC again licensed their characters for. It benefits reconstruction efforts in Puerto Rico. That one is equally as important. I just kind of want to touch on that you should get both of these books.
Yeah.
And with
Absolutely.
that, we have no sense of organization.
No, and I think we have to go back to Batwoman.
I think when I'm going to sit down and edit this, I'm just going to sit there and go, oh my god, what the hell are we doing? So we've talked a little bit about Batwoman's history, kind of where to start. So 52 to Elegy to the New 52. Again, 52 and the New 52 are different things. So let's touch a little bit on Batwoman Rebirth, which has been interesting to say the least.
Yeah. Very exciting that there was another chance taken on a solo in the wake of what happened in New 52. But with Johns at the head of DC at this point now, he stands by Kate.
Absolutely.
He does right by her. He does fantastic work for all of DC's characters, but he does have a soft spot for Kate, which is nice, a little bit. So he says on Twitter.
Yeah, no, he has a really, because I mean, you know, he was one of the 4 or 5 co-writers for 52, and probably had a hand in shaping her character.
Absolutely.
So they all have, you know, Greg Rucka, Jeff Johns, Mark Waid, Grant Morrison. They all kind of have a bit of a soft spot for her. So let's get in a little bit to the current run and Rebirth and kind of get thoughts and feelings on that. It's been a little interesting, to say the least. I think it's a bucket of good and bad. There has been really good, and at the same time, there has been not so good.
Yeah. There are certainly things about it that really, really speak to me, and really, really speak to what I think of Kate's character, or how I would imagine Kate would respond. And then there's a lot that does the exact opposite for me.
Yeah.
And that's the hitch on the current arc for me.
Yeah. I think a big point of contention for me is that, you know, you and I were talking about this earlier, of the difference in style and tone between Tynan's detective comics, which you should also read because it is phenomenal.
It is one of the best comics I've ever read.
Grumpy
Hands
Batmom.
down.
That's all I'm going to say.
Grumpy Batmom is my favorite.
Grumpy Batmom.
I love her.
But there's a huge difference between Tynan's Batwoman and then Bennett's Batwoman, and they're running simultaneously, and it really it doesn't mesh well. And I think we see that same problem with Tom King's Batman and then James Tynan's Batman.
Right.
That I think there was a mess in editorial with that.
Oh yeah. I mean, the forgivable part of King and Tynan on Batman is that it doesn't cross over into each other.
Yes.
It's supposed to be running, I believe, simultaneously.
Yeah.
However, their storylines don't ever touch upon each other.
Yeah.
Very briefly, at least, Tynan's Batwoman and Bennett's Batwoman.
Because that's what issue 6.
It was issue 6 of Batwoman. Ties right into Detective, right before A Lonely Place of Living.
Yeah.
That arc. And it does play a role. Not the biggest role, but it is important, especially for the conclusion of Tynan's detective run.
It's also giant ship bait.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, issue 6 is great. Like, wow. Sorry. It's if you're listening to this podcast and you're listening for recommendations about Batwoman and stories where it's like just like really, really gay, you're gonna want to grab that issue 6.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna want to talk about, these last 2 issues coming up, because Batwoman is a dynamic character, but let's be real here, these last couple issues have been nothing but ship bait.
Yeah. I really enjoyed 17.
Yes.
That was the one that just came out. Because at this point, it's confirmed that the series is ending.
Yes.
Things have to be wrapped up. And, sadly, you don't have a whole lot of space in 2 issues to wrap up maybe a grander storyline that you're working on, if that was the case. But it's very nice that at this point, it's just like, all right, series is concluding, time for gay.
Yes.
That's what it reads as to me. But it's fun, in, a really fun way. It's definitely a little bit, weirdly enough, because usually series for me, when they're coming to their conclusion, feel like a conclusion and they're dragging a bit, and it's like, all right, just pull the plug. This has actually been one of the highlights of the series.
Because if there's anything Marguerite Bennett can write, it is unbridled gay.
She is the writer of unbridled gay. And for DC.
If you're looking to branch out from Batwoman in main continuity, or if you just want a world where the DC women fight World War II and they're all super gay together, you will want to read DC Comics Bombshells and the later series Bombshells United.
It was the pitch itself was everything that I've ever wanted in a comic book as a gay lesbian historian who loves Batwoman. But
what gets me is
it stands up to the
when
pitch
DC made the announcement that all of their alternate universes are canon, as part of the greater multiverse. So DC Bombshells is canon in the DC universe, and it is
canon AF. Sorry,
no, you're fine.
I was very excited about that announcement,
right? Because
it made.
I mean, I could go on for days about how Bombshells is this marketing genius, that it started as a line of variant covers, it went through a bunch of merchandising, and then they made the book to sell the merchandise. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but I think any person with critical thinking can realize they made a novelty comic to help sell the merchandise. And I think it kind of became like a Willy Wonka situation where they made the movie to sell the Wonka bars, but the movie became bigger than the Wonka bars. Yeah. And I think
that sounds about right.
I mean, honestly, I think you and I are going to have to devote an entire episode to Bombshells. I'm kind of thinking that should be episode number 2.
Oh yeah, no, I'm with it.
So yeah, confirmed right here. Episode 2 is going to be Bombshells.
Speaking to what we've already discussed around Batwoman, and I won't get into it too much because I feel like, this should be an episode on its own. For me, if you're looking for some kind of closure,
yes,
with the controversy surrounding New 52, considering that announcement that all the multiverses are canon, you might want to try picking up Bombshells.
Yes, it is.
It healed a lot of wounds.
Because, I mean, especially because if you were really heartbroken by the broken engagement in the New 52 with, we're just going to put this out there, Maggie Sawyer, this actually is, like Bat said, it's a little bit of almost retribution that this still is happening. And I really think we just spoiled the ending for that.
We did. I was trying to keep it vague, but we went there.
No, that's fine.
It's okay.
I'll do some clipping.
Yeah, if you can. It's not the well, it's kind of spoiler.
I can probably cut out certain phrases.
Okay. But it is an important note to tie back into our Batwoman talk.
And I will apologize now to any and all Sandverse shippers for anything relating to Batwoman. But since we are working through Shoot the Breeze and Shoot the Breeze Media, a little bit of transparency here. I write for Shoot the Breeze. I am actually the chief news editor, and I'm going to take a second to be that person and plug an article that I wrote on Shoot the Breeze. It is called Batwoman, What to Know and What to Read. So you can find it on Shoot the Breeze, you can Google it, but it is, a minor history of the character, a little bit of what's going on, and I do an essential reading list, and I really kind of think it's like a little one-stop shop for everything. So just gonna be that person and plug myself.
Hey, can you send me the link to that?
Yes, I can.
I'm gonna plug it. That's why. I don't know if I already did. So I want to make sure I do.
Every so often, because I wrote it when they announced Batwoman and the crossover, which is going to be our next topic, and then we got all the other news, so then I reposted it.
It's just one of those things that you just cycle it back up every
exactly. But so we've talked about the comics rather rambly, I think. But I think you and I just get so excited about Batwoman that it's like there's this topic and then there's this topic, and then I really hope when I play this back it's not gonna sound too weird.
There's just so much to talk about, Mary.
There's so much.
There's so much for what are we on now? 12 years?
Yeah.
For 12 years of 8 characters' main existence, there is a lot to touch upon.
Absolutely. And so we come to our final topic, and I think the one that a lot of people have wanted you and I to talk on the most is...
It makes me nervous.
Yes. Is the announcement that Batwoman will appear in the CW crossover this year, which will lead into a potential 2019 release for her solo TV show, also on the CW.
Woohoo!
This is absolutely groundbreaking, massive news that, what started out as a niche character will make such a big appearance. I mean, this will be the first TV show to have an LGBT superhero lead. I mean, the CW has been fantastic about including LGBT characters. Cough, Legends of Tomorrow, cough.
Cough. Can we take just a minute to appreciate that? I mean, Legends of Tomorrow is doing it. I believe Black Lightning is doing it. But this is going to be the first real, superhero show that I could think of where the main character is a queer, a lesbian superhero.
An out and proud lesbian superhero.
Out and proud lesbian superhero on regular primetime TV.
Yes. I mean, and The Flash has done, great side work with Pied Piper and Captain Sing. The CW famously had the Sandverse storyline where Alex Danvers comes out and starts a relationship with Maggie Sawyer. Legends of Tomorrow is a gigantic bucket of gay. That is the only way to describe it, is, a gigantic bucket of gay, and Bebo loves you. But Black Lightning, which is a little separate, has done some phenomenal work with bringing in Thunder, or Anissa Pierce, who is Black Lightning's daughter, who was a main character in Judd Winnick's The Outsiders, which is phenomenal. I
was just about to say, you need to read that series.
I could have had more Grace Choi in Black Lightning Season 1, but fingers crossed, everything crossed that we get more Grace Choi. But find Judd Winnick's The Outsiders. It's probably 2003, 2004. It is a phenomenal series. It ran for a lot of issues. If you love Nightwing, if you love Arsenal, if you love Grace and Anissa from the TV show, absolutely read this.
It is required reading for them. For sure. I think it's out of print, but it turns up a lot. Yeah, I do see it a lot in stores still.
It's one of those books where it's been out of print for a long time, but it is still readily available. The only problem, jumping back to the CW real briefly, the CW does fantastically with queer women, but I kind of feel like it's allergic to queer men.
Yeah.
I know there is an out. I think Mr. Terrific is gay on Arrow. Side note, Mary doesn't watch Arrow. If I want to watch a TV show about Batman, I will watch a TV show about Batman. Shade.
Same.
The Flash, which does not have a starring, queer character, has done great work with side characters. There was a massive nod to the Flash villain Pied Piper, who comes out to Wally West in the comics. They do a bit with Captain Singh, who was a Flash character who I don't know if he was gay in the comics, but he is in the TV show. It's festive because he's like manly super cop. And there was the musical episode where Victor Garber and Jesse Martin, but in the musical episode, Stein from Legends and Iris's dad were a gay couple.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. This is a little bit of news to me because like my deep dark podcast confessional right now is that like I really jumped ship on the CW.
See, I'm gonna have to include that.
What?
No, I'm not. But no, no, Victor Garber is an openly gay actor.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know how caught up you are on Legends, but they make a joke about Titanic. About going to the Titanic, and Professor Stein says that he doesn't want to go to the Titanic. Whoever designed that ship should be shot. He very famously played Thomas Andrews, who designed the Titanic in James Cameron's Titanic.
Oh my god, you're right. Oh.
And it was the same episode that Billy Zane was in, who played the villain in Titanic.
Oh my god. Oh, I love stuff like that.
And it kind of loops back into the joke at the end of the first crossover where Brandon Ruth, who plays the Atom, looks at Kara and says, "She looks like my cousin," as a giant reference to He Was Superman in Superman Returns.
Oh my god. Oh my god, it's like a nerd's delight.
Yeah, I'm going to jump back to the queer men thing. While the CW has done a lot of great work with queer women, I feel like they're kind of allergic to queer men a little bit. They don't have a lot of... I feel like for every 2 queer female characters, there is 1 queer male character.
And not really given any amount of the same spotlight.
No. I know there is a gay character on Arrow. I think it's Mr. Terrific. Side note, Mary doesn't watch Arrow. If I want to watch something about Batman, I will watch something about Batman. The Flash...
To be fair, Bats has not been keeping up with any of the current CW shows. Yeah. I'm behind on everything.
For shame, my dear.
I know. So yeah, I'm very, very much qualified to talk on this topic. But to be fair, I could be like very many other people that this is going to be like my jumping back on.
Yes.
But maybe it's going to be a jumping on point for a lot of readers who are fans of Batwoman onto the CW who may not be watching it already.
But my fingers are crossed that CW does get better about representing queer men. There are a few fun tidbits that Professor Martin Stein in Legends of Tomorrow is played by Victor Garber, who is an openly gay man. And Wentworth Miller very famously played Captain Cold in the first several seasons of The Flash. And
he's a favorite. I love Wentworth.
Absolutely. But spoiler alert, and some people is going to come after me for this, he dies in the end of the first season of Legends of Tomorrow.
Are you serious?
Yes, I just spoiled all of that for you.
Way to just like, are you sure I want to watch this series? No offense, Legends, but like I love Wentworth Miller.
Well, what's really cool is that
my heart is broken.
But in the Crisis on Earth X, the Crisis on Earth X crossover, when they were all like killing every Nazi imaginable, they find the Earth X version of Captain Cold, who is openly gay, which is very exciting because Wentworth Miller himself is openly gay.
Okay, I love that. But can he be like a regular again? Like, can we just steal Earth X, Captain Cold, and just keep him with us forever so I can always have little Wentworth Miller in my pocket? I really like this guy, all right? I was a fan of his when I accidentally fell into watching Prison Break and then watched it for almost the entire run, and I loved him.
I think what I love the most is that he was Chris Redfield in the Resident Evil movies.
Oh my god, I forgot about that completely. He was.
Everyone forgets about the Resident Evil movies.
I mean, fair. Although I do like I do like Mila Jovovich a lot, and that stems from there.
I like to look at Mila Jovovich a lot.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like, yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, the otherwise the Resident Evil movies weren't all that noteworthy. But yes, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed for the CW, because they had the introduction of a gay Captain Cold who was in a relationship with the Ray, who is also on Earth X, who is a gay character who, again, was also played by a gay actor.
That's stellar. That's absolutely stellar.
Right. It's been it has been confirmed that John Constantine is joining Legends of Tomorrow, so we're going to have a bisexual man on Legends, and they have not really hid his bisexuality at all, so that's very exciting.
And also, John Constantine, just as a character in general, is phenomenal.
Yes, he is.
So that's exciting.
But there were 2 bits of massive LGBT news coming out of San Diego, with the CW really trying to give the gays what they want. I feel like this first bit of information absolutely needs addressed, because Supergirl is introducing the first transgender superhero on a TV show.
Just
like I am speechless.
So good. I know. I'm a little emotional about it, honestly.
And I know there are a lot of people like, oh, Supergirl's gonna fuck it up, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, Supergirl's had kind of an interesting couple of seasons. I think, is kind of the best word to describe it.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, this is huge.
Yeah.
And like the fact that they're doing this, when sadly so many other media outlets are too timid to even think of introducing like a trans superhero. Like, come on, this is great. And you know, I'm cautiously optimistic. That's my kind of mantra for anything CW related. Is what they're trying to achieve is at its heart, I think, with golden intentions.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they slip a little on the execution. And it's just a matter of like, you know what? At least they're trying, and they're gonna nail it eventually. Law of averages, but this is just fantastic news, and I think we can't use the CW's mistakes to sweep this under the rug.
No,
because this is a big deal.
And my tinfoil hat theory about the CW. And specifically Supergirl, and kind of the questionable reviews that it started to get, is I wonder how much of it was linked to Andrew Kreisberg being forced out of the show. Because Andrew Kreisberg was a producer who was very rightfully ousted because of sexual assault and harassment allegations.
Yikes.
So, I do think that there was a lot of validity to those statements, and he's gone, and I wonder how much of that kind of left the show in disarray.
It might just be another one, to give them the benefit of the doubt. It might just be another one of those like burning building matches and lighter fluid situations, which is unfortunate that it keeps happening in these important like storylines, especially for women loving women.
Exactly.
But like it's not, we can't pin it on any one particular person or even any one particular show or company. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we don't see.
Exactly. And
always. And
again, Mary's tinfoil hat theory, I would bet money that Floriana Lima leaving the show as Maggie Sawyer, and her leaving the show, I would bet money that there was stuff going on the scenes behind that.
Oh yeah. I don't think that was without
provocation.
Without provocation or without something more behind it. It just seemed to come out of left field.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I think the writers were kind of left to scramble a bit.
Which, I mean, when you think about it, when you think about losing like key members of your staff, either in writing or editing, producing, or the acting,
Yes.
like that's a hard thing to come back from. It's like removing it's like removing wires from anything electrical. Like, you can't just take one out and expect it to work the same.
Now,
I mean, there's replacements, and sometimes replacements aren't always good. There's reworking, and sometimes reworking isn't always the best it could be.
And I'm not a huge 100% fan of the whole, why they broke up kind of a thing. Let's just spoil all of Supergirl right here, right now.
I am not a fan. I mean, it sounds... no, I'm not a fan. I can't even...
I think... because I am that one person who will always give Supergirl the benefit of the doubt, and I'm the one person that the rest of the lesbians hate in this respect. But I think the scene was beautifully written, and I think it was beautifully acted.
Oh, yeah. Like, it was well done. I wasn't sold on, like,
exactly.
the reasoning.
But...
again, that seemed to come out of left field, and very quickly, too.
I feel like that there was a limited amount of time to wrap up,
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, that's the same thing we discussed in the text of the comic stuff. There's only so much you can do with so limited of issues or episodes in this case. But at the same time, I mean, it was well done. Like, gut-wrenchingly well
and
done.
I do have to give the CW props for not just killing Maggie. Yes.
Okay. All right. If we're looking for a huge silver lining, more like a silver mural, that was very appreciated coming from somebody who's been burned a lot by shows just killing off their
and especially since The 100 and Clexa, which, side note, Mary has also never watched The 100, so I have no idea what the deal is with Clexa. I just know that there was a bury your gays moment where Lexa was killed and the internet exploded.
I did not watch that show, but I was...
Victoria and I kind of
unreasonably upset.
My wife Victoria and I, we tried, and like 2 episodes in, we found out that they killed Lexa, and we just kind of stopped.
That was exactly how it happened for me, because right when I was like, all right, I'm seeing all this stuff circulate on the internet, it is really adorable, and these characters seem like they'd be fun to follow, and maybe if I just stomach the seasons until we get to the good gay parts, like, I will enjoy this. And then, like, a week later, that episode aired, and I was like, well, I'm glad I never started this.
Yeah.
Because that was like... that was sadly my only selling point on the show. It was the only stuff I heard about from the show, too. Like, so take that away, I had no interest in it. And I was also very, very upset because the bury your gays trope is a very incredibly upsetting thing to me and everyone, like, in our community. But really.
No, I tip my comic book loving fedora to the CW and the Supergirl writers for not just killing her, which, scripting wise would have been the easiest thing to do. And I know that feels like, giving them credit for doing just the easiest thing in the world, but
it's not that easy when you think about it.
No, because
how do you write her off in a believable fashion?
Yeah. Now, I don't think they should have gone that hard into the marriage storyline, but...
No. I think that was one too soon.
We have to get better at not interrupting each other.
I know. Go for it.
But, fuck, I don't even remember. I'm
so sorry.
No, you're fine. But no, I feel like that's giving them credit for not, doing something that is, God motherfucking fuck.
Can we just put that clip at the end of the episode?
God motherfucking fuck.
God motherfucking fuck.
I say that a lot. But I know giving the CW credit for not killing the lesbian character feels like just giving them credit for nothing, but when you see the bury your gays or the bury your lesbians trope for so long, it's just kind of refreshing to see.
And maybe if we give them that credit, then others will take note that this is what we want.
Exactly.
So I don't feel too conflicted about giving them the credit for it. It's sad that I have to, but at the same time, it's just like, well, if I clap, it'll let everybody know that I like this thing.
Yes.
I like this thing that was done,
and
to an extent. I mean, if it had to be done, it was done really well. Yeah.
And side note, the 100 and the DC TV shows, they're not done by the same branches. It's a separate thing, but
yeah, CW is not just strictly DC.
Right, true.
They have a lot going on.
It's a right church, wrong pew situation.
Yeah.
And trying to get us back on track a little bit, we've looped through the trans announcement on Supergirl to everything with the rest of Supergirl and just more Supergirl. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of the CW, is the Batwoman stuff that's coming up. The first announcement that we got came several months ago. Stephen Amell announced it at some convention thing that I don't know about, that in the next crossover, Arrow would be fighting alongside Batwoman, and the internet, especially lesbian Twitter, which I frequent a lot, just kind of went, what?
All my Twitter is lesbian Twitter at this point. Lesbian and comic Twitter.
You and I exist on lesbian comic Twitter.
Yeah.
It's its own subsection.
We have jackets. Join us.
But, I mean, that was absolutely huge news. And, because I will admit, part of me kind of went, oh, wait, he means Batgirl, because that they are not interchangeable. And then it came out again. And then, because I watch a lot of DC All Access, and then when DC All Access finally laid down the absolute confirmation that Batwoman is coming to the CW universe, and that they are crossing over into Gotham, my brain just kind of went blank, and I was 14-year-old Mary there for a minute, who read 52 for the first time, and I will admit that I kind of ugly cried at that.
I needed to take some time soul searching and convincing myself for a second, because like the CW had been something that I wrote off for a little bit of time. I couldn't pick it up for a long time after that, even though at that time I'd gotten over my hangups about it a little bit. Because I reasoned things out just like we just did. However, when the crossover was first announced, I was kind of in the why the CW party? But taking the time right before, and I'm glad the show announcement came much later, honestly, because in that time I took a minute to realize, holy shit, like just the implications of having a lesbian superhero who's out and who's proud front and center. Yes. On like mainstream TV, like I just said, like TV that I actually get, because I spent 26 years of my life without cable. This was big, and this was exciting, and at that moment, then suddenly it felt like, oh my god, I am ecstatic right now. Yes. And when the show came, like the show announcement came, I slept in till like 1 p.m. and my phone was blowing up. But like I woke up and immediately burst into tears, because the first thing I do is check my phone, and I had all these messages, and I just sobbed for like an hour. I was so thrilled. Like I left the negativity at the crossover, and I'm glad I got that out of the way, because like honestly, this is nothing short of fantastic news.
Yes.
For anyone who's loved Kate and who's wanted queer superheroes for so long.
Exactly. And I have 2 points to add. First of all, I just kind of want to slap a disclaimer that everything with Kate absolutely does not negate the fantastic work Black Lightning has done with Thunder / Anissa Pierce.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
Because I see that a lot. Everyone's like, hey, Batwoman's great, but here is something else that's happening. And it is the personalities with Anissa and Grace, were kind of flipped, because Anissa was usually the more passive of them. But I think Black Lightning does a very good job. I mean, she is the first Black lesbian superhero, and it is an amazing portrayal on an amazing show, and I cannot recommend it highly enough.
And it is groundbreaking.
Absolutely.
I mean, that in itself was a super, super bold move, and a move that needed to be made. It was long, long overdue. So and Black Lightning is absolutely trailblazing.
As much as I know that, because Black Lightning isn't usually included in the crossover, it's existing kind of on its own, and I think for the message that it has, it should. And absolutely. I don't need Oliver Queen explaining to Jefferson Pierce how to be a hero. I do not need that.
No.
But I really want to see Kate and Anissa team up to fight people. I think that would be great.
That would be amazing.
Hashtag bring Anissa back to the DCU.
Hashtag CW, please listen.
Yes.
Hashtag. Please.
Even if it's just Anissa crossing over, I need that. And my second point is my big feeling about the Batwoman CW show is that, and you know, personal story, I'm getting real open with this, but the first time I read Batwoman, I had just tried to kill myself because I was so distraught for being gay. I'm not going into the nitty-gritty of that because that's a conversation for another day. But I found that issue, and as corny as it sounds, it probably saved my life. And the TV show, regardless of hardcore fan feelings, regardless of casual viewer feelings, if that show helps one person the way that that Batwoman helped me, it is worth it.
100%.
And I know that's where my opinion differs from a lot of people, but if this show can help even one person as much as it helped me, I don't care what happens, it is worth it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a lot, sadly, it's a lot more accessible than comics. Yes. I feel like jumping into comics, it was a struggle. And I feel like it's 10 times the struggle as a lesbian
yes.
woman. When you don't know, and sadly in comics there's that fun thing that still goes on where you have to already go in knowing everything. Yes. Otherwise, like, no one will take you seriously. And that's turned a lot of people away from comic book stores.
Yes.
Even more easily so when there's so few heroes that are like you, that look like you, that love like you. So to put this on TV, to give people an in to this character when maybe they don't feel comfortable or ready to step into a comic book store, into this world that sometimes isn't as friendly as I'd like it to be, as we'd all like it to be. That's so important. That's that jumping on point that a lot of people need to find that hero. Because Batwoman is that hero for a lot of people. For Mary, yes. For myself included, for different reasons. She's important, and she can do a lot of good for people. Just knowing what she's done for me and Mary, and knowing what she's done for a lot of other people who've told me their stories. And this is big to put her on a bigger platform, a more easily accessible platform, like regular primetime TV.
And I'll have to add, kind of out of context, but that kind of goes back to what Bats and I were talking about earlier, about how the Marvel Universe is amazingly racially diverse. It has a lot of characters from a lot of different racial backgrounds, and it's done so well, but it is so painfully straight. And then you kind of step into the DC Universe, which is, you can't swing a baseball bat without hitting 14, queer characters. But everybody is so white.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that we haven't found the right amount of
yes.
both, which is actually the scientific numerical, like the mathematical term is a lot more is what we need.
Yes.
On both ends, both sexuality and race. There needs to be so much more on both ends, but it's sad that we haven't even found a middle ground for both of the companies, that they could just both do something a little better, And I get it's a process, but like, you know, it's time. It's been time.
I'm going to be that person right now, but oh no, Bats diversity is killing comics.
Oh no, whatever shall we do? It's not like 10,000 fucking variants priced at like $100 is not doing any harm.
You are opening Pandora's box of what
I know, but it's the biggest thorn in my side. It really is.
Hashtag thanks Marvel.
Yeah. Not to point fingers, but thanks Marvel.
No, I will point all the fingers for this variant nonsense. But in terms of casting for Batwoman, I don't really want to have that conversation. And that's not saying that you and I, but I feel like it's a lot of running around with your hair on fire right now, because there were some of those audition videos that went up, and there's a lot of dissection into these actresses and to the script, and it's like, it's probably something that they just threw together, and I sincerely doubt it is actually part of the script.
Oh,
because
yeah.
why the hell would they put that on Vimeo?
They would not. And additionally, I don't even think like those videos should be circulating. I mean, I'm not sure if there's something that's like they look like leaks to me, and like I can't even watch them because it feels like I'm not supposed to be watching them, and it kind of upsets me that like everybody's putting like these actresses that are auditioning for this role on blast and ripping them apart immediately.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm gonna start waves with that, but it's just it's a sticking point. I mean, we have to be patient. This is not something that we have a hand in, sadly.
Yes.
And not on this end.
Say what you will about the CW, their casting has been really pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
Grant Gustin,
I would say so.
Grant Gustin he does really well as the Flash. Melissa Benoist does phenomenally as Kara.
She is Kara.
I mean, Cress Williams as Black Lightning is just out of this world.
Yeah.
So casting-wise, the CW does really well. I don't know, because I mean, there's this huge rumor going around the other day that Ruby Rose is in the running for Batwoman. I'm not touching that.
I'm not touching that with like a 30-foot pole and gloves.
And, like, I know next to nothing about Ruby Rose. I caught a few episodes of her on Orange is the New Black, and I know she's going to be in The Meg, which is this new ridiculous shark movie from Warner Brothers that I'm kind of excited for.
I'm stoked about it. Dick and I are going to get tickets and go see it because we've been talking about it for months. It's based on a book.
It looks dumb, but it looks amazing.
It looks so dumb, but, like, I'm a sucker for giant shark movies.
Same.
Like, let's do this. But yeah, aside from that, like I don't really know enough about her to weigh in. I have my own personal opinions. They're not for this podcast. I'm not going to weigh in on any of my casting opinions, except my one fan cast, which the ship has sunk on that anyway.
Evan
Rachel Wood. But nothing but respect for my Kate Kane.
Yes. And I will give a shout out to Carolyn Dries. I think you say it. I think it's Dries. But the showrunner for Batwoman is openly gay herself. So, props to having a lesbian showrunner for the lesbian superhero.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Somebody petitioned her to bring Anissa onto the show. I'm sorry, I will not let this go.
Did they really?
No, but I want to. I want to start a petition.
Oh, I thought you said somebody did. I was like, oh right, so, we haven't even put this podcast out yet. No. People are already like, yeah, let's do this.
No,
somebody petition her.
I want to petition that. But
where do I sign?
But no, I think we'll see a casting announcement probably at New York Comic Con, because that'll be in October. The crossover's in December. I think that just lines up well enough.
It's perfect timing.
Yes.
And also, sadly, the sound of silence is running through my head. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I will not be at New York Comic Con this year. The year that I have to be there.
The year you're going to be a bridesmaid instead.
I'll have a really fancy suit, but also I will not be in the same building as our new Batwoman.
Hello, darkness, my old
friend. I'm going to lie down a bit.
Yeah.
But, like, it's It's likely going to be at NYCC. If it wasn't at San Diego, which would have been too soon anyway, New York Comic Con, that's the place for these kind of announcements. There's certain conventions, especially the bigger ones, that focus more on media now than comics, for better or worse.
San Diego.
New York Comic Con is one of them.
I mean, San Diego is really all about movies. I mean, DC always brings big to Hall H. Marvel has essentially pulled out of Hall H, like, because they're going to do that, D23?
Oh,
because I know Disney's kind of consolidating all of their scary post-apocalyptic power.
Mickey Mouse is pulling on all their leashes a little bit,
like
getting them all in the same.
Jumping back
house.
to Greg Rucka, he writes a series called Lazarus, which used to be a post-apocalyptic series, but I keep reading it and going, "Wow, next Tuesday looks really rough." Like, it's gonna be like,
oh, I want to isolate that sound clip and just send it to the team because they would probably.
It's like, next Tuesday is gonna be rough. Like, which family am I going to be a serf to?
Broadcast is looking grim.
Who am I kidding? I'd be waste. I am gay waste already.
I have always been gay waste, even before I knew I was gay waste.
But time for another, Mary's tinfoil hat theories.
But I love
the CW announced, they put out a mini trailer, if you will, announcing the new seasons of all the shows, and then the last minute is leading up into the crossover. And we have a little bit of the heroes talking about other things, their seasons, and it sort of starts to tiptoe into Batwoman a little bit, because we see panels, voiceover panels that I am 90% sure are from Hydrology, which is Volume 1 of the New 52. And, of course, they play all of Supergirl's really funny Batman or Bat jokes in general. How great would it be if Kate was the Bat vigilante in Supergirl's universe?
Yeah, and all the shade that's been thrown is not at Bruce, it's just been on Kate, which kind of makes me laugh a bit, because I'd love to see them all get confronted about it by Kate. I'm kind of hoping that she is the Bat vigilante that everyone's been talking about.
I'm gonna bet she's gonna be on the Arrow side of things, because God forbid Supergirl gets fun stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, also, I guess stylistically, it makes a little more sense to put her in the Arrowverse, because, like, I think Stephen Amell, a Twitter bio says it, sadly, well, no offense to Stephen Amell, because I know he had this shouted at him by a fan, but he was referred to as Walmart Batman.
Oh, no.
And he's good about it, though. I love Stephen Amell because he kind of rolls with this kind of stuff. He's got a great sense of humor. But I think that was, if not still his Twitter bio, it was his Twitter bio for a long period of time. Walmart Batman.
Love it.
Shout out to Stephen Amell. You are great, even if I'm not watching Arrow. Sorry. But you are great. But yeah, I think stylistically it does make more sense to be on that end of things, because I feel like Arrow is trying to be as gritty Gotham as it can be without actually being gritty Gotham.
And my only touch on for her being on the Arrow side of things is that she needs an actual costume and not one of these weird leather jacket monstrosities that everyone wears in the Arrowverse. I'm sorry, that is just my thing. Everyone has the same leather jacket, and it makes me want to rip my hair out.
Yes, and I'm very upset that it's. I mean, I love leather, but I wear it all the time. Let's not get too into this. Let's not get too into this. I plead the fifth. But I like superhero costumes on my superhero shows, and like I'm very nervous about the Batsuit. I really, really, really am, because it needs to be as dramatically Batsuit as it can be. It can't be a half.
I think they'll do right by the costume, because it is such a specific costume, and
it's such a great design that I feel like if I were a costume designer and I was given the chance to design the TV version of Batwoman's suit, I wouldn't want to stray too far from that original template, because it's solid and it's going to look great on a screen. Not that I'm biased or anything. It's not like I wear one all the time.
But The one thing I thought was really interesting about the Batwoman side of the CW trailer is that we see a lot of panels from Hydrology and with Williams' artwork from the New 52. So I'm kind of wondering if that's hinting at the crossover itself. Because they could have used any art from any project, but why this art from this project? So is the crossover going to have something to do with Hydrology? Are we going to see the CW take a huge step into the supernatural? But, again, that's my tinfoil hat theory. I think it would be interesting if they do a supernatural crossover, considering that Legends of Tomorrow will not be in this crossover. Adding to the further irony that John Constantine is on Legends of Tomorrow. So are we going to take a huge jump into the supernatural without John Constantine?
I think that would be a bold move.
Yes.
That might be, if I were leading the direction for this show, I probably wouldn't introduce Batwoman immediately into a supernatural arc, especially like unless her show is going to take more of a supernatural tone in itself, which I don't think they will do especially if they're putting Constantine and Legends of Tomorrow. That's probably where they're going to put their supernatural stuff. I mean, they have to with Constantine in it.
Like I said, it was just my tinfoil hat theory, because I have watched that trailer at least a dozen times because it's so fun with the dramatic reveal at the end.
I was in a car with the bride-to-be for the wedding that I'm going to be at for New York Comic Con, and I'm screaming in her ear about this. I'm like, I know we have bad reception because we're in the middle of Bumblefuck, Pennsylvania, but I really need to watch this trailer right now, and I'm sorry, it just got released. And I'm screaming in the backseat of this car.
Love it.
And for her and her fiance to witness. But yeah, no, I feel like it's probably going to be less supernatural, especially because I don't think that I highly doubt that Batwoman show is going to be centered around the supernatural. I think it's going to be more of a cut and dry kind of vigilante thing.
No, probably not. But I just like to have my fun little theories about it.
It would be awesome, though, if it was Hydrology. It just might not play well when they're transitioning to her own show.
And I think that would be a really difficult note to start off on.
Yeah, there's a lot in Hydrology. It was a complex storyline.
And especially
there was a lot going on.
And especially because so much of it built off 52 and Elegy, and
there's a lot that would have to backtrack on first in order to get the characterization right and not just leave people floundering for any kind of context.
So my big question for the TV show is, again, Mary is a gigantic shipper at heart, but Maggie Sawyer is connected to Alex Danvers on Supergirl, and Renee Montoya, who was on Gotham, has now been announced to be in the DCEU's Birds of Prey movie. Side note, really excited about that. And I know a lot of people...
Side note, I cannot wait to go there in costume to support my girlfriend on the screen.
Right. But, Maggie is pretty... Like, they're not going to do Maggie on Batwoman.
Thank God. I mean, and okay, that sounds really, really, really heretical of me, because I love Maggie Sawyer. I love Maggie Sawyer in almost any incarnation. But I think because of the history that they've already built with this Maggie Sawyer and Alex Danvers, like, I just don't want it to be like, here's the lesbian that is passed around from lesbian to lesbian in the universe.
Yeah.
Like, that's unfortunately a lot of what creating lesbian characters in, like, universes is, like, when there's so few of them. And I'm hoping they don't go that direction.
But do you think they'll do what is seemingly a third iteration of Renee Montoya? I think it's a possibility, considering especially where the book is. I am about 95% positive that Kate and Renee would get back together in these last 2 issues of the book, because that would just be a gigantic fake out, and I would come after Marguerite Bennett with my angry words.
No, I have a feeling that's where the book is heading to. And the thing about the book ending is, I don't think, like, okay, this Rebirth run, really not tying into much of anything, but I don't think it's going to be something that is immediately retconned like that. So if Marguerite Bennett is setting up something, it's gonna have a little bit of weight.
And especially since they have been teasing Kate and Renee's reunion since the beginning of Rebirth in Detective Comics.
Yeah. I don't think anything is thrown in there without, especially the way Tynan works. Nothing is thrown in there without calling back to it later. Like, there's no detail that's unimportant. Like, even like, oh my god, there's some things that, like, not to spoil anything for Detective, but there's some things that Kate said to Bruce that later, like, in the grand scope of that, like, really big, like, shocker arc, I start backtracking, and these things that seemed like offhand comments actually come into play.
That's why I'm also really excited for Justice League Dark. Because, I mean, Tynan, he brings that sense of gravity, and every little detail is important. And with Wonder Woman and Zatanna and their backup dancers, because that's what the book is about for me.
It's so good.
Wonder Woman, Zatanna, and backup dancers.
I won't get into this too much because, like, this is off topic, but, like, I think I might be the only person who's excited that Man-Bat is on the team. I have an affection for him. I mean, I love bats in general. But Man-Bat is just like, he doesn't get enough love. He's such an underused villain. I want to see him, or underused character in general. I want to see him.
I really like this team for Justice League Dark.
Yeah, and, like, Tynan's very good about taking, like, a character, like, for like, the whole Clayface situation. Like, he took a character where, like, why the hell are they on this team? And made it so crucial. Like I would trust Tynan with just about any team structure at this point. But that's it. I digress.
Like I said earlier, we have no sense of organization.
No, we just ramble.
Let's hope it's at least fun, listenable rambling. But I think cautiously optimistic kind of wraps up feelings for both of us on Batwoman, and particularly all of her stuff on the CW. I am very excited. I am cautiously optimistic. I'm not going to worry about the casting right now. That will be announced when it's announced, and we can deal with it then.
I would like to just make a note that regardless of the casting, the part that the CW really has to, like, nail is just the key concepts of her life and personality.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to make her gay, but
I would certainly hope so with all the press that's been really hard to renege on that.
But I also think it's important to not forget that she is also one of the forefront Jewish characters in the DC universe, and I feel like it would be very easy to touch upon that on a TV show. And I think it's important to who she is as a person, just down to her suit itself, came from her Jewish culture.
And, you know, because I mean, I've seen a lot of the Keep Kate Jewish hashtag running around Twitter, and I honestly have no idea how or why the CW would retcon, or, you know, what is it, goy washing?
Yeah.
Her Jewish faith, because they rewrote Arrow that Felicity is Jewish. Martin Stein in Legends of Tomorrow is very Jewish, to the point where he has a festive Hanukkah sweater that is absolutely festive.
I would pay the CW anything to, like, put Kate in those, like, really punny, like, Hanukkah sweaters.
Yes.
That I see around.
So,
like, I would love that.
I mean, the CW is no stranger to Jewish characters. They don't shy away from it. Particularly in Crisis on Earth X. Earth X Felicity, who is Jewish, has been, you know, it was a bold choice to have her in the striped uniform with the star, but they were making, you know, surprise, surprise, the CW is making massive political points, which is what they do. I mean,
I did not know that about the crossover.
I mean,
wow, that is a bold move. But yeah, no, I mean, they do make political statements. They don't shy away from that, and that's why I'm still very cautiously optimistic. I have faith that they will do right by this character, but I feel like it's important to note about the character.
Yes.
Just so they don't forget, and just so like viewers don't forget. Like if you're not on, like maybe you're not a queer woman, but maybe you're a Jewish woman that wants to see someone badass who is like them as well. Batwoman's not just for lesbians. Like she spans so much importance, like in so many different realms, whether you're looking for a strong female character, for a strong Jewish character, for a strong queer character, Batwoman is the crux of it.
Absolutely.
She's got a lot for everybody.
Fun twist for you. I found a picture of young Martinstein in his little ridiculous Hanukkah sweater, and I have just sent it to you. There it is. Check Twitter.
Oh my god. Sorry. I'm checking Twitter now. Where are my messages? There they are.
So his little...
Oh my god, I love it.
So I mean...
I want her to have a sweater.
So
like
I honestly, and it is a very,
ugly,
very legitimate concern, given how strong, like you said, her history and her motivations are rooted in her faith. They have never shied away from it. And so it is a very realistic concern, but the CW has never really shied away from Judaism before. I mean, because I don't remember if Felicity was Jewish the entire time. I think that may have been a Flashpoint thing where they made her Jewish after that. Flashpoint really was kind of a shakeup for all of the shows.
Right. But yeah, no, I do have faith. I really do have faith in them, especially since unlike other like media outlets, or maybe I'm just exposed to it more often, it seems like the CW is really, really present on social media too. So a lot of these things, like if we're hashtagging keep Kate Jewish,
they're seeing them.
Like they're seeing it. Which, side note, important to keep doing that.
Yes.
You don't, I mean, it's as long as you're, you know, like friendly about it. You're not like...
Don't drag these people.
Don't.
I don't really care how you feel about a storyline. Personal harassment is always a no-no if you don't like the way a TV show is going. Like...
Yeah. But it's easy enough to just like
hashtag
keep that hashtag going.
Absolutely.
They will see it. They will see it. It doesn't fly under the radar as long as it's hashtag.
And
you know?
That is our official point. Hashtag keep Kate Jewish.
Hashtag keep Kate Jewish. I will put it on a shirt. I will wear it everywhere. But please, please do. I trust you, CW. Don't let me down.
So, looking at our runtime right now, we might want to wrap this up and get to some of the fun Twitter questions that we put out. We put out a call for Twitter questions, and we have some. So do you want to start answering those?
Yeah, what do we got here?
Okay. Our first question is from Dick.
Naturally.
And I will let you...
I know what he's going to ask.
I will let you shout out his Twitter handle, because Mary forgot to write it down.
It's a fun Twitter handle. I can't wait to say this over a podcast. And I know why he picked it, but it's just, it's funny. Hi at DickBats 715. We both know, and we've established this. We talked about this, Dick. Kate Kane would win. Don't give me that.
Because the question is, who would win in a fight between Dick Grayson and Kate Kane? I am abstaining from this question. I'm going to put on some Mortal Kombat music and let the two of you fight this out.
Yeah, I don't think this even needs... this is a very personal question. Honestly, and I've answered it. I will win. He knows this.
Was he just being a dick?
Yeah, that was exactly it. He has a habit of living up to his nickname. I love you, Dick. It's a joke.
And so our second question is from @TalkingBatwoman. Which character would you most like to see Kate fight without either of them using weapons or gadgets?
I had a good answer for this one, but Mary, you can go first.
See, we have the same answer.
We have the same answer.
I would like
I talked the last question.
I would like to see her fight Deathstroke.
Yes, absolutely. They both come from military backgrounds.
They're both,
but their current sorry.
No, they're both highly trained martial artists.
Yes. But their current lives lead them in such opposite directions, not just in moral like sway, but even so much as like how they fight. Like
Yes.
So Deathstroke, I mean, he is rough and tough. He knows his martial arts, but he also uses guns and weaponry a lot. Whereas Batwoman uses gadgets, but for the most part, it's a little less. It's much less weaponry.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of just the straight up martial arts. So fighting villains, and she does fight a lot of them that carry weapons. Yeah. She would already have the kind of sense to know how to really defend well with just using her fists and her skills and her martial arts. Whereas, while Slade can totally do it,
yeah,
it might be an adjustment to not have that, not have gunpowder or swords to fall back on. And that would be cool because I feel like I mean he's very big and strong. He's probably much stronger than and in size and muscle sadly than Kate. So I feel like they would be very, very well matched with those advantages versus disadvantages, and it'd be a fun fight.
And I think, jumping onto your point of how, yes, Slade is big and he is strong, but if she can use that momentum against him, that will work very, very highly in her favor.
Oh yeah. I feel like I think you mentioned this too, that she'd probably she most likely would be a little faster than him, which could make or break a fight. Yeah. Not that I know anything about that.
Not at all.
Not at all. But when you're fighting crime, sometimes it helps to be a little fast.
Exactly.
But yeah, no. I think they would be really evenly matched against each other. So it'd be really it would be a good fight.
Yes.
I'm not even sure who I think.
I think it would just be it would be an all-out brawl, and I would be seated on the bleachers with my popcorn bucket.
Oh my god, yeah. And the two of them are also so stubborn that they can knock each other to the ground and it'd still probably be trying to claw each other's eyes out. So it'd be a really intense fight.
I feel like at some point, Batman would just show up and okay, stop it. You've been at this for 14 hours. Just stop.
Point them to their respective timeout corners and
so our next
give them water.
Our next question is from @Kal-El-Data, or he's more commonly known as Ian, who's an absolute sweetheart. He says, if you could have Kate leading any team book in the DCU, which team would it be and who else would be a part of it? I don't know if I necessarily want her to lead it, but I would like to see her have a more permanent spot on the Birds of Prey.
Ooh.
Because Injustice kind of, sparked my love of this, Tom Taylor's Injustice comic, where she is a member of Birds of Prey, and I think when you surround her with characters like Canary, specifically, I would want Oracle, because, Barbara as Oracle is probably one of the best things DC's done character-wise. So, I mean, but...
talk about taking a bad situation and turning it into something really, really iconic and phenomenal.
And all credit to Ostrander and Kim, the late and very talented Kim Yale, who really worked to bring a not my favorite Batman story to such an empowering moment. And, getting off track a little bit, but I would really like...
Yeah, no, I really love Oracle.
And I would,
and that's essential Birds of Prey.
No, Oracle is the best. I love her. But I would like to see Kate on kind of a Birds of Prey-ish team, because, if you want to even look at Rebirth, the Benson sisters, Shauna and Julie Benson, did Manslaughter, a story arc in Batgirl.
That was my first thought. Something to the effect of Manslaughter. Yes.
And if you haven't read Manslaughter, it's phenomenal. There is a group of literal TERFs and radical feminists who release a virus on Gotham that starts killing everything essentially with a Y chromosome. And the female heroes of Gotham, plus Wonder Woman and Lois Lane, because adoy, have to team up to take them down, and Batwoman plays a really large part in that story. And... Oh, I just want to say a huge nod to the Benson sisters for, in the end of the storyline, acknowledging that this affected more than cis men.
Yeah. And honestly, like, a storyline that involves Batwoman fighting
Yeah,
TERFs is a dream storyline
because,
for
I
me.
mean, you had
Um,
Renee and Kate, two gigantic lesbians fighting against TERFs, and I loved it.
I loved
Yes,
every
and
minute of
Poison
it.
Ivy. You know, bring her down from the heavens, Poison Ivy. Hashtag Poison Ivy League. Cough.
She needs to be on the team, though. I want her to be on a team
Yeah.
with Kate. That's why I stopped.
I
I was
want
just like, if we're gonna do something Birds of Prey related, which I would love,
you
I
need.
think that's very fitting for Kate. Like, I kind of would like to see Ivy on there as well. I
Yes.
think they would be
I
they would work great together.
ooh, have Amy Chu write it.
Okay. Side story. One, Amy Chu should forever write Poison Ivy. Two, Amy
Yes.
Chu is also the sweetest person ever, and I've had very many opportunities to talk to her, and she is lovely. And the one time, right before the announcement, actually, that Batwoman has come back in Rebirth, we had this conversation where she said she would love to write Batwoman. So why not let her write Batwoman and Poison Ivy? Give her
Yes.
that team.
Give me a Birds of Prey team with Batwoman, Poison Ivy, Renee Montoya, because suck it, Huntress, Canary. Just give me
Give
Manslaughter.
me Manslaughter
Story
written by
arc.
Amy Chu.
Maybe lose Gotham Girl.
Yeah, I understand why she was there, but
yeah, but still.
I still don't know what exactly her necessity is.
I don't know. At Dragon Age Fans asks, what do you think of a comic that details the life of Kate outside the Batwoman costume? And in my notes, I wrote Mary's Dream Gotham Central reboot.
Yes, please, to both your dream reboot and that comic. Like, even if it was like a mini, because there's so much. I mean, just as important as Batwoman is to me as a character, Kate Kane is also important to me as a
Yes.
character. There's those separate entities, even though they're one and the same person, but those separate entities offer so much vastly different inspiration for me.
Yes.
And I feel like I desperately need more of the battles that Kate Kane has, not Batwoman. Not that I don't like Batwoman's struggles, because, like, honestly, Batwoman's an inspiration to me, of course, but
yes.
like, there's so much about Kate Kane that is inspirational to me too, that I want a story that's more maybe centered on Kate Kane. Like, we have a lot of stories that center on Bruce Wayne and not Batman.
Yes.
We should have that, even if it's just like a mini.
And what I mean by my Dream Gotham Central reboot is that someone can consider this an official pitch. I want a Renee Montoya-centric reboot of Gotham Central. And I would think it would be really interesting to, especially since we're teasing of them getting back into a relationship, kind of having Kate, not Batwoman, but Kate, have to, support Renee in all of this police work. Because, I mean, we often see characters like Lois and other partners having to support the superhero in the relationship. And I think it would...
But what if we spun it on its head?
Exactly. I mean, yes, I'm sure, Batwoman would jump in when necessary, but Renee Montoya is a very by-the-book cop.
She's a very by-the-book cop, and, like... The fun thing that I actually really did like about Gotham Central is that, like, the GCPD really didn't want a lot of vigilantes out there. Like, they can do their own thing. It's just that always the odds are stacked against them, and a lot of the times superheroes just swoop in, like, uninvited in a sense, which is frustrating when you're a by the book detective who's good at her job.
And so I think that would be kind of an interesting thing to see, that, and I have a headcanon where Kate brings the entire precinct lunch, but...
Aw, because she could. It would be very fancy catered lunch, because she's extra.
Yeah,
can we send this to DC?
Yeah, that is my official pitch, thank you. Requiem Pluie, I think that's how you say that. asked, if you could pair Kate up with anyone, who would you pick with her to work with her to go on an otherworldly adventure to save the world? My answer is Supergirl.
I would instantly say Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
but considering World's Finest was a thing that happened,
Yes.
I'd like to see her, because she's had so much, she's been knee deep in the supernatural before. I'd like to see her pair up with Zatanna.
Yeah, considering that she wants to marry her, cough detective.
Cough, that was one of my favorite little panels.
And I love Cassandra. Yes.
Yes. But like, especially since like, and I have to hand it to the artistic work on this, you could see the wistfulness in Kate's eyes under the mask. How is that possible?
I mean, that is badass lesbian vigilante completely.
I want to marry her. And then Cassandra Cain is smirking and is like, yes. Like, yeah.
But
yeah, I would too.
If we're talking otherworldly adventures, especially with Supergirl going into space in this new arc, I really think it would be interesting to see the two of them team up. That, you know,
that would be cool. And we could have a I was going to throw some shade. I can't do it. we can have the Batwoman in space story that they actually made
throwing lots of shade over here, just lifting the cape up with all the shade.
Yep. You might want to cut that out.
But I think Kara needs a grumpy Batmom too.
That would be so cute. Can you imagine Kate Kane trying to give Kara advice in like the Kate Kane way, where she means well and she's grumpy and everything, but she really means well. But like, Kate's still growing up in her own way too.
Yes.
So there are things that she could speak on really well, but she's also in her own right a mess, and that's kind of why I love Kate Kane.
And I just kind of have one more thing I want to say on this question before we move to the next one. Somebody else I really want to see her team up with is randomly Dr. Aphra from the Star Wars comics.
Oh my god. I didn't even know we could branch out into Star Wars.
That would just be gay panic in space.
Oh my god. This is not for this podcast, but like, so come back and talk to me about my DC Star Wars crossover plans, because like, it will be so good. I basically want to make a New Hope with that. With them.
Side note, shout out to Dr. Aphra, which is a Star Wars comic published by Marvel, where she is a rogue archaeologist who happens to be both a lesbian and a woman of color, or an Asian woman, who is just the epitome of gay panic in space. And, you know, I know it is Star Wars and I know it is Marvel, but they go full homo.
Full homo in space, especially Star Wars verse, is my favorite. So that's the pitch. That's the pitch for that book, Full Homo in Space.
So, I mean, they don't explicitly say that she is a lesbian, but Kieran Gillen, the original writer for both Darth Vader and Dr. Aphra, has said in a Tumblr post that he writes Aphra as a lesbian. And we have seen her flirt with exclusively women and relationships with exclusively women. But so, lesbian panic in space.
I love it.
At Only Nick at Night asks, do you think Batwoman will get a new solo book to replace the one ending in August?
Happy birthday, me.
Yeah. I think it'll be a little bit of time. Because
it will. It's definitely not going to be before the crossover.
No. I think it's going to be one of those, like a Black Lightning situation, where maybe they'll do a mini at some point in the future, but I think the TV show will be seen as an offset. I don't think she's gone. I think she'll pop up, but the sales for her Rebirth book have not been great. So I think there might be some time.
I think having the TV show definitely gives us hope, because it's going to generate interest. But yeah, it will just, from a business standpoint, be some time before they really take putting her back in her own book seriously. Not that they don't want to. It's just it's a smart business move to generate more interest before pushing the button on that.
At Alpha Zulu, or as we know and love him, Oz, asks the all-important The all-important question of pancakes or waffles. And pancakes all the way.
Oh, this is actually the most difficult question of the questions, because I have to say pancakes, but I really hope Waffle House still lets me visit. I am so obsessed with Waffle House. I am a city slicker who has only recently discovered Waffle House on vacation, and I ate there every morning for MegaCon, and it's a wonder that I still fit into my suit. But holy hell, I love Waffle House. But pancakes. It's always been pancakes.
Yes, pancakes. At LRBCN or Laura asks, what do you think is Kate's TV guilty pleasure and what's on her Netflix queue? I feel like Kate watches Quantico because Priyanka Chopra is just everything. And as far as her Netflix queue, definitely Full Metal Jacket and absolutely Die Hard. I will go full Jake Peralta on this. Absolutely Die Hard.
I can see it.
Yes.
Kate
is the snuggle up, ice cream, and watch Die Hard.
I feel like Kate Kane is less about binge watching new TV shows and just always going back to her old favorites. Like, that's why, like, some of my favorite Kate moments are when somebody makes like a current pop culture reference at her, and she's just like, "What?"
Hayley Kiyoko.
That was amazing, and that's so Kate. Like, music, movies, TV, like, she's very set in her old favorites. And it's not that she's not open to new things, she just doesn't go out of her way to look for it. So I feel like binge watching new shows on Netflix is not something she would do, but she would totally watch her old favorite movies.
I feel like Kate probably has Cagney and Lacey on VHS somewhere.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I feel like she's got Cagney and Lacey on VHS somewhere.
Definitely. I like the detail that on VHS. Because she would still have her VHS player.
Because it's Kate.
It's Kate. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's
exactly.
That's her thinking. She's got all her CDs and records still. She doesn't buy new vinyl, even though it's making a comeback. She just has it on TV.
Stacks of the Andrew Sisters.
Sets. She's got all these like old
tracks.
like punk mixtapes that maybe like she and her friends swapped at like in like her teen years.
Yep.
She sticks with those. Got the handwritten playlists on them.
Just holding up a tape recorder at a concert.
Oh my god, she totally did. Oh, that is a headcanon.
Headcanon.
Hashtag headcanon.
Well, that is the last of our questions. That's the last of our topics, so I think it might be time to wrap this up.
This was fun. This was cool.
It was fun.
Thanks for listening.
We are at over 2 hours.
Oh, yikes.
Mary has a lot of editing to do.
I have a lot of sending moral support to Mary. unless if there's anything I can do, Mary, let me know. Like, maybe not run my mouth.
But we just want to thank you guys for giving us a listen, giving us a chance. We hope you guys will tune into our next episode. Again, thank you to OLC for providing our intro and outro music.
You guys are awesome.
And thank you to Shoot the Breeze Comics and Shoot the Breeze Media, who, transparency I do write for, but they have given us this amazing platform to get started, and thank you so much for that. Thank you to everybody who sent in questions for us. You can follow me on Twitter at Sapphic Geek.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Batwoman NYC. It does have an underscore. Don't forget the underscore.
Never forget the underscore. So this is Rainbows to the Rescue, and thanks so much for listening.
Batwoman out.
Signing off.
God motherfucking fuck.